Good evening. Welcome to the Raymond School District Number 14 regular school board meeting on this February 17th, 2025. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public to conduct the school's district business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. This meeting is now called to order. It is 6:30. Please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Dana, will you do roll call, please? Yes.
Ed Robinson. Janelle Wise.
Here.
Mike Powers.
Here.
Audrey Kostich.
Here.
Patricia Wren.
Here.
Thank you, Dana. Verification of public notice pursuant to 19.841 Wisconsin statutes.
The agenda was posted in all the usual places, Schoolhouse Door, online on our website, down the street at Divergent, as well as the Village Hall, and media was notified.
Okay, thank you. Next, we move to approve the agenda of this meeting. I want to just point out that there was a change in our agenda from Friday when it was posted to last night. In the borrowing, it's under new business, the amount from 1.2 million to 1 million, which reflects the amount we need and not the amount that originally was stated. So with that, we'll need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda of this meeting. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Next, we move to the consent agenda. I trust that you all have taken a look at the meeting minutes as well as the rest of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. All those in favor?
The consent agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. The consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Next, approval of regular meeting minutes from 1/20/25. We can probably blanket these. Approval of board workshop meeting minutes from 2/3/25 and the approval of special meeting minutes from 2/3/25 and also the approval of meeting minutes from the facilities committee meeting from 1/31/25.
Move to accept.
Second.
We have a motion to approve all of these meeting minutes and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We move to business and finance.
If I might, just before Pete Kempen shares, because Ed is gone, he's absent excused from tonight's meeting, but Ed and Pete and I sit down on the regular and have conversations. I just want to thank Pete for stepping into the role of interim business manager. He stepped into the role in December. His former life was retired business manager, so he's enjoying retirement greatly at this point. I don't know if he knows what that means to retire, but he was already driving a bus for the district. He might as well just keep doing other things. But Pete's been great. We're trying to create some systems here. As you know, there's no secret here. We have financial things that have occurred in the last couple of years that are challenging. and having systems is very important to us. So we're working to, work through some of not only the recommendations from our audit, but also just common sense practices that are best practice in the industry. And Pete's been really steadfast and out in front with some of those adjustments and changes as we go through things. So thanks, Pete.
Thank you, Mike. All right, just some information first, since obviously there had been an issue with transparency in the past, so I just want to share some things that are going on in the financial world. The loan from the extension that we had was paid off in January. The district paid $85,578.48 in interest for the loan. That is money that could be saved if the district fund balance were at a level where we would not need to short-term borrow. And of course, this is one of the things that was brought up for needing the referendum in April. So the cost to the district for the short-term borrow was $85,000. We are currently working on the next short-term borrowing request from Community State Bank. That loan would go into effect at the end of the month if approved by the board tonight. That would need to be repaid in August. We received our February tax settlement from the village on February 14th. That was a nice Valentine's Day present. And that was in the amount of $735,306.23. That amount will be used over the next couple months to pay bills and payroll. And I am requesting that the district change their credit card provider to one that is used throughout the state for school districts. A couple reasons for this. One, we would actually earn a rebate on things that we charge. And secondly, there is no annual fee for that. So if we look at the financial report then, our beginning balance was negative $98,457.81. Accounts payable was $240,714.57. Receipts in the amount of $1,264,785.56. Payroll disbursements of $96,925.61 for total transactions of $927,145.38, which gives us an ending balance of $828,687.57. For approval tonight, I am asking that the board approve payroll and EFT checks 900029152 to 900029291, accounts payable checks and EFT checks of 304820 to 3048.2 to 30546, EFTs 20240026, 2024001114 through 2024000117, 2024000121, and 2024000128 through 2024000134. And there were no Fund 21 checks.
Move to accept the treasurer's report as written and pay the checks.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We move to the school showcase. As you know, each month we try to focus on something that's good happening here in Raymond. And tonight we have Miss Callie Michael-Ichek that does our middle school science. And take it away.
Can you get my slides up?
I can, they're right here.
That would be wonderful. All right, so like they said, my name is Miss Michael-Ichek, and I happen to teach grade 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science. And then I have some of my little scientists here to help us. Go ahead. This year, we are in our second year of implementing this new curriculum from HMH. So I shifted the focus to be centralized for 6th grade, they get an earth space science, 7th grade, they get a life science, and then 8th grade, they get a physical science. And we've been doing next generation science standards, which implements a hands-on learning approach, which is what the kids are gonna show you. And first up is our 6th graders. All right, go ahead and talk about what this one was. What did we do? That's okay.
You want to introduce yourself?
My name's Brayden. My name's Jackson. We tried to make a live scale of the solar system in like a lower scale, so you could like actually see it on Earth. Because obviously, the real planets are a lot bigger than that.
So they were able to scale it down to be within centimeters.
Yeah.
So everything was, the planets were scaled to size as well as distance, which was kind of neat to see it within the room. And those are several students' examples, and we followed that from NASA, which was neat. We have some more modeling. Go ahead to the next slide. This is the one that these two did really well at. Go ahead. No, you don't have to use your note card.
So for this one, we had to like stop erosion by like using rocks, popsicle sticks, beans.
I didn't have sand yet, so we used beans because I had a ton of beans in the room. Beans really stink when they ferment, so we had to stop using the beans. But, go ahead.
We put the dirt on like a slope and like drew like a hole with our fingers through like the middle. And put like popsicle sticks around it and try and stop. So when the water comes through, it's not clean water instead of dirty.
Yeah, so we made it, so they learned about weathering, sedimentary rocks, deposition, and then had to apply it to something local. And then they remade their model today. Do you want to do the rain? Okay. So then the big test during class, every student made one of these and had to make a clean pool. Because if it didn't make a clean pool, then it didn't really stop erosion. It took a lot of the sediment and made a mudslide. Don't get on my
Try.
It was kind of nice. It made a nice little drainage ditch like with our fields that would have. You want to grab your quick little rocks?
Oh yeah.
The last thing we did for sixth grade, you can go to the next slide, was we've been continuing with rocks and candy.
We took, in this lab, we took starbursts and like smashed them together into layers to form like different kind of rocks. So for the first rock, we took like sedimentary where you don't melt it at all, you just smush them together. For the second lab, we wrapped them in tin foil and then we smushed it on the hot pad and it created like a little metamorphic rock. And then for the last one, you melted it all the way down until it turned into igneous rock.
We used the things for senior breakfast, the pancake, the griddles. Those worked out really nicely.
Multi-purpose, there you go.
But that was sixth grades. Thank you, gentlemen.
And they don't quite look as tasty after you've been smushing them through your fingers for a couple
Oh, they do.
hours. Oh, they do still look good.
They still look good.
Still worth
They
eating.
still look good.
That's good.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Nice job.
All right, I have two kids from seventh grade talking about life science. Is Bella grabbing it? Yeah. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Bella Lina. And I'm Boris Dukic. So for this lab, what we did, this was the pine cone lab where we had 3 different pine cones of around the same size, and we put one in hot water, one in cold water, and one we just left to the side, as you can see on the picture and right here. This is the hot water one. It closed because the pine cone closes its scales to protect the seeds, because if the water gets into the seeds, it's kind of ruined, and that ruins its chance of reproduction. And for this, the cold water one also closed, but slower because the molecules move slower than the hot water one, because molecules are sort of like moving all over the place in hot water. And of course for the no water one, nothing really happened. It's like one that is just laying on the grass.
It's our control variable. And we have lots of pine cones around school, so that was really nice and simple. And then the next slide is our other plants.
For this lab, we did a hands-on learning and we cut up like flowers. And I really liked this lab because it helped us understand what we would be later on writing about our pollination comic, which I thought was really cool because for me, I'm a hands-on learner, and this just really helped me understand way more. And another thing that I liked is with the leftover flowers, the seventh graders actually went around the school and gave them to some of the teachers. And I thought that was really cool.
You guys. Seventh grade. And last but not least, we have two eighth graders. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Zach.
My name's Devin.
For one of our units in science class, we made, for energy, we made electromagnets. So what this is it's a steel nail with copper wire wrapped around it. And what happens when you attach it to a battery is it creates a circuit, which when you try to pick up paper clips, they stick.
So part of it was they changed the variables. Eighth graders got to determine number of coils, the length of the nail, the coil of the wire, and try to see which one they wanted to manipulate. So as the grades progress, sixth grade does modeling, seventh grade investigates, eighth graders really get to tailor it a little more to discovery and design. Yeah, anything else, son? Good?
Sure. Yeah, it works by creating a circuit which coaxes all of the electric signals in one direction and making the nail magnetic.
Thank you.
So thank you, Ms. Michaelechek. I just want to point out that Callie is a new member to our team this year. She came and joined our team kind of late in the summer. We had a big changeover. Unique story for Callie is that she, Ms. Michaelechek, I should say, is that she joined our team as a former student. She graduated from Raymond and had Mr. Weiss actually as a student. So coming back here full circle for her was wonderful, and we were lucky to get her to agree to join the team. So thank you for joining our team. We love having you. Nice work.
Thank you, Callie. Great job, guys and girls. If parents and students want to leave, you are welcome to do that. And we will move on to the public portion of this meeting. Members of the public wishing to address the board on any topic are required to complete a public input form before the beginning of the meeting.
First, we have Jeff Peterson.
Need a 10 second delay. It's worth it. Hello, my name is Jeff Peterson, and I entered kindergarten in 1975 with Mrs. Swan as my kindergarten teacher and graduated in 8th grade with Mr. Linloff as my homeroom teacher when Mr. Bueller was our principal. Today we celebrate President's Day, a day to honor all presidents that we have served our country. I think it's appropriate to start with words from Ronald Reagan, who once said, "By working together, pooling our resources, and building on our strengths, we can accomplish great things." I believe it should be a priority for those who serve in any leadership capacity, whether it be a business owner, board member, school administrator, or even among neighbors. It is imperative to work together. A couple of months ago, a board member responded to me that not everyone agrees with me as a way to shut me down and for some reason silence me. I'm not quite sure what the board member was referring to, and I was reminded of the countless times I have invited others speaking out on social media to have a conversation with me. I've done this no less than a dozen times, and not one individual has taken me up on my offer. It was very similar when I was leading Raymond School as the principal, and multiple times offered to speak with the board and the administrator, and not one time was I allowed the opportunity to share, to illustrate, or quite simply to even listen. I'm not sure where others learned how to cooperate and work with others, even those you may disagree with, but it wasn't as a student at Raymond School. Those are the things that I prioritize as a teacher and a principal: to listen respectfully, to treat others with kindness, to honor differences, and when necessary, to agree to disagree. I was a student, teacher, and principal in this school, and not once did I hear any wokey ideology, any life lessons that weren't centered on kindness, respect, and acceptance, or any students for that matter. Kindness, respect, and appreciation for differences are some of the things I believe parents want their children to experience and have reinforced at school, in addition to core rigorous academics. Of course, there were times when a student posed a deep question about something they read about in a choice novel or something they heard outside of school, and every single time the teacher responded with something that sounded like, "That's a great question," or "That's interesting," and "That's something that is perfect for you to talk about with your family." What I've observed over the last 2 years is a sideshow of accusations, questions, and rhetoric about things that didn't happen at Raymond nor ever happened. In closing, Abraham Lincoln reminds us that a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Thank you. Jennifer Rybar.
I just put it on and off.
That's it. Very touchy, man.
Okay. On January 23rd, the most recent $1 million Community State Bank loan was paid back according to a receipt in an open records response. Tonight's Treasury report does not reflect this payment. I'm wondering where the funds came from to make this payment. It would appear that there is an unreported stash of cash somewhere that is not being shared with the public. I'm just wondering if there is any money left in the secret stash before going to the Raymond taxpayers and asking them to pay $2.25 million more in taxes. State statute requires all receipts and disbursements to be reported in the Treasurer's report. The last time necessary reporting requirements were disregarded and the Treasurer's report was removed by Mike Garvey, we headed into a historic deficit in this district. We keep hearing about transparency. This is absolutely anything but that. Please note, the payment of the loan and the revenue from the loan are not reported anywhere. Wisconsin State Statute 120.16 is the statute that requires this. And I just want to keep this for the record.
Thank you. If I could just comment, I appreciate your sentiments. There is no secret account anywhere. If Mr. Kempen wanted to speak a little bit about our money market versus our checking account, that would be probably helpful at this point.
Okay, so in Fund 10, which is general fund money that is the operational budget of the school district, the school district has two accounts at the bank. One is a money market account where all revenue is deposited. The other one is a checking account. So I make transfers from the money market account into the checking account to make sure that the checks are covered. The bank decided to take the loan out of the money market account directly rather than go through the checking account. So that's how the loan was paid back. Otherwise, there's no payments coming out of. Everything else is then managed and recorded through the treasurer's report.
So the transaction was a money market transfer on behalf of the Community State Bank, verified by us, approved by us, and then taken from money market directly.
This is the total amount of both accounts.
Yes, the standing amount here, there is no secret account. That is not something that I think would be prudent for us to put out even an insinuation of, because there is not some account sitting somewhere with money in it.
Correct.
I think it might just be your proximity to the thing.
Okay,
It's okay. Yeah, who's that?
Lee Toll.
Lee Toll.
I can just say it loud.
Yeah.
Good evening. I spoke at the October 21st, 2024 board meeting regarding errors when paying for tuition reimbursements for 2 employees, how it should be done, and also correction for the third quarter 941 and the W-2s to be compliant with IRS code. Mr. Leach has recently acknowledged that the district does not have a compliant employee tuition reimbursement plan that complies with IRS code 127. In this evening's board packet is the list of accounts payable disbursements for January. On January 16th, 2025, Mrs. Brockman was paid $2,730.75 for tuition reimbursement. When I addressed the board in October, everything I said fell on deaf ears. I wasted my time. The district and the staff have, again, done what they want, when they want, and how they want. The tuition reimbursement was paid through accounts payable when it's very clear it needs to be paid through payroll so that the payment is compliant with IRS code. Again, the district is violating federal codes regarding tuition reimbursement. These payments are subject to payroll taxes and they need to be reported correctly on both the 941 and the W-2. I'm very disappointed that the school board has disregarded my heads-up advice back in October and continues to do as it pleases. Why is this happening again? Why hasn't the district hired an accounting professional to process transactions, advise, and keep the district compliant for numerous reporting agencies? There is no room in this budget for more attorney fees, interest, or penalties for payroll forms or taxes not filed and paid correctly when the district was forewarned. And then my another comment is when that loan was paid off, even though it comes out of the money market, it's supposed to be on the treasurer's report. The treasurer's report should be encompassing all bank accounts in the town. District, thank you.
I could speak to the Fund 127 comment. Thank you for bringing that up. We are not required under federal law to have a Fund 127. Those are drafted by an attorney. There are separate ways there are different ways you can reimburse accounts as verified by not only every district touching us. I went to a local superintendent's meeting. I am from 5 districts that have reimbursed me and have never, ever had a Fund 127 account set up for me. So it is absolutely common practice to pay through accounts payable. Pete, you were in Seymour, you paid it through accounts payable. Correct. Yorkville just talked to Mark Rollison last week, accounts payable. So there are a variety of ways. The 127 account is set up typically for someone who is being asked to take credits that are outside of their licensure or outside of their area of expertise or degree. So when you're asking someone, or someone's working for a master's or a doctorate level program like I am and like Ms. Brockman is, it's not required to be under a 127 agreement. So I understand that that's something you brought to our attention, and I thank you for that. Yes, we did just have a recent open records request. I do want to point out that when we have open records requests, that causes me to contact attorneys. That costs us money every single time that I make a phone call to an attorney. So when I have to do records requests and I have to do honor all those things, which I'm the person that does those things, while I appreciate it, it is literally biting off our nose to spite our face, because we're spending money arguing about things and we don't have the money. And again, something like a Fund 127 that literally I can point to numerous districts, including WASDA and WASPA, 2 professional organizations we're members of, that is not common practice that you have a Fund 127. The attorney can set us one up for a couple $1,000s, and we don't have to have one. He offered and I declined. But every time that I have to go to the attorney, again, that's money that we have to pay out to an attorney. So while I understand it's concerning, when I do my personal taxes, I do all of that on my end for tuition, not the reimbursement, but any of the taxation I have to pay on my own income, I have to report to the IRS, as does Mrs. Brockman. So while I understand it, it's just something that I wonder what the end game of that is. I understand that you're concerned that the board has not filed the appropriate paperwork, but I've just not been a part of a district that's ever required that.
Having the 127 plan allows you to exclude $5,250 per year of tuition reimbursement.
Right.
And so because we don't have the 127 plan, there should be no exclusion, because having a 127 gives you that exclusion. If you don't have the 127, you don't have the exclusion, which means you include all tuition reimbursement.
Thank you.
Lastly, Doreen Moonen.
I have a document in front of me that says you took out a loan in December and paid off a loan. and it was for $1 million. And it shows to me that you paid this off. And then I have another one here that says in January 23rd, so from December 17th, you took out a loan, paid it off, and then in January of 23rd of 2025, you paid off a loan of $1,762,602.73. So it looks like you took out 2 loans in the last couple months. I just don't understand why you're doing that. Neither one of these transactions show up anywhere on your treasurer's report. You know, this is something that you should have made mention to us. When was it approved to take that first one out? Was nothing that was said in any kind of board meeting that said you approved a loan and you were signing it. But we all saw in December, there was a table over here, that a loan officer from Community State Bank came up and you guys were signing papers. That's not legal. You have to post that you're signing. You have to tell us you're signing, and now you're paying another one off. And frankly, this board has not done anything in 2.5 years to set this school up for any financial success. There is no one sitting here today on this board that has a financial degree. Lee sat on this board. She has a financial degree, and she practices it. She knows what's going on. There are a lot of other people, another one sitting right behind me, that also knows that you guys are doing things wrong. But yet, you still do not hire anyone to correct the success of this district for any kind of financial processes. And that's something that you guys need to do.
If I could, there are not 2 loans, and we'll explain that on tonight's agenda. There were never 2 loans. It was, again, a loan that was extended or carried through by the bank. Houses or you finance things, it takes time. So September 16th, we had an approval for a loan. Nothing happened. The bank asked for documents just like they would in a personal loan. When you go out and get a loan, they say, we need more information. We need to gather this, gather that. In the case of us, they discovered that we don't even have a deed on the property. So that took an extra month. So between September, October, November, December, and again, we'll talk about this, and it's in your board packet tonight. This chunk of time passed. It's the same request, September 16th approval of up to $1.2 million. And the loan amount that they wanted to give us was for $1,070,000 or $80,000 initially. We had to pay an interest payment on that in December. And the amount that we eventually paid off was $1,007,000, and so roughly, and some change. So there was a loan that, again, we absolutely should have paid in August and did not. We had other obligations from the summer that were paid. I don't understand why we didn't, but we are currently restructuring our business office to make sure we don't repeat the woes of the past. That's a problem. We cannot function in that way. The bank worked with us and was very gracious to say, you have a referendum that's coming, get through the referendum, and then you can pay us your money and we'll figure out how to move forward with short-term borrowing. So again, this is a very unprecedented time. I think we can all agree. It's unprecedented for schools, it's unprecedented for Raymond, and we need to do better. And our board is committed to doing better, and we're restructuring our business office to handle the needs of our business office. So again, thank you for bringing that up, and I just wanted to comment back. But there were not 2 loans, DeRay.
Then why do they have 2 different loan numbers?
Why do they have 2 different loan numbers?
It says in this document.
I could ask Community State Bank, because again, they haven't taken $1 million twice from our account. So again, those are pieces we want to make sure we clarify with the banker. I can invite him to our next meeting if you'd like.
Right in the document, it says current balance paid off, and the loan number ends in 05, it says $1 million.
Mhm.
And then this one here says, note number ends in 06. So that looks like 2 different loans to me.
Sure. That's a fair question, but I can tell you it's not 2 different loans. So again, I can have Community State Bank come to our next meeting. Neil has been wonderful to work with, Neil Buchanan, and he can certainly explain why that may have been. But again, the loan has been paid off, and we'll talk tonight about the next steps, which is what we have to move forward with in terms of our short-term borrowing.
Audrey, I would just like to make a comment as well in response to Jeff's commentary. So he said, while he was up there, right, that we need to work together to move forward, and I wholeheartedly agree that in our aligned interest on ensuring that we're here for the right reasons, which is the education of our students, that we should be doing that. In that statement, there's been a request for the board to improve transparency and trust, and week after week we get up here and show examples of changes that we've made, have well-documented changes, personnel changes, more thorough discussion up here than we've had, certainly from when I started on the board. You talked about how we had deficient practices in place. Those practices didn't happen overnight. They happened over a long period of time, and it's taking, unfortunately, a lot of time to correct those actions. But building trust and being transparent and being, it's a two-way street. It has to happen both ways. And I'm committed to continuing to do my role in showing up here, being truthful and transparent, but I also know that it's my role to hold people accountable when they're not being truthful and transparent. So I just would like to read a comment here, a series of texts actually. Janelle, I have the utmost respect for you and know that you are extremely busy. I would like to meet with you in person. The sooner the better. I'm willing to rearrange my schedule if needed and can meet you off-site. Although I've since found that the Ryan Road Starbucks isn't the best idea, with a little emoji. Please let me know if this is a possibility. Thank you, Jeff. At this time, I would like to keep my request, request to be kept confidential. That was on March 26, 2023 at 6:20 p.m. On March 27th, 2023 at 9:12 a.m., I responded with, good morning, Jeff. I'm sorry for the delay. I was deep in house projects yesterday and fairly disconnected. I'm available after 3:30 today, probably closer to 4 when you factor in drive time. 4:15 to 4:30, Starbucks on Howell, response back from Jeff. 4:15 or 4:30, Starbucks on Howell Avenue this time, or any ideas? My response, 4:30, Starbucks on Howell is fine. Jeff's response, I'll be quick this time. We met at Starbucks. We talked for more than an hour, for a decent amount of time. You just stood up here and said that despite multiple requests that you were denied, you were not denied. You and I had a very thoughtful conversation, I thought. And I encouraged you to reach out to other board members, and if I continue on in the stream, you mentioned that you took my advice, you reached out to board members, but both declined your invitation. I encouraged you to do email the board on regular status updates, to which was a practice that you started doing on some cadence. This has not been, I just want there to be truth and transparency shown as a two-way street. And it really hurts to be depicted in the way that I've been depicted as well.
The board never met.
Having been called multiple names. I understand that you said, just for the record, Janelle, I requested to be a part of the executive discussion tonight. Huh, my response, I will keep an eye on it. Thanks for the heads up. That doesn't mean that I didn't keep an eye on it. That doesn't mean that I didn't speak on your behalf or suggest or do anything that way either. I'm just asking. Truth is a two-way street here, and you just depicted me inaccurately, and I just wanted the moment to correct it.
You met with me individually, and I appreciated that at the time. Not once was I able to meet with the board.
That was my commentary. Remember, we're not supposed to go back and forth, so I just wanted to have my comments. Thank you.
I'm agreeing with you. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to old business. First up is confirmation of loan payoff from Community State Bank. Mike, you want to give us some background on that?
Yes, has been brought up in multiple comments tonight so far, so a lot of this is sort of a repeat, but our cash flow is a challenge at Raymond, along with many other districts our size. Given the timing of state funding and lack of adequate fund balance, we need to borrow in between. There's peaks and valleys, and so when we hit a valley, that's a rough spot. We don't need to be in a valley when we have to produce payroll. Our teachers need to be paid. That's one thing for sure. So in the past, our credit line with Community State Bank was paid off each August or September, somewhere in there. That was actually the reason why our annual meeting was in August, part of the reason why it was in August. This year, with the financial picture of the district changing, I think we can all agree on that, the bank wanted to review the paperwork and ensure that Raymond had a profile that would be desirable for short-term lending. They have to cover themselves. They have to get into an agreement that's going to make sense for the bank. We were able to meet with the bank, and they requested that we secure a deed for the school if we wanted to collateralize the property, given the fund balance and financial profile the district currently has. So it's not something of interest that we wake up and say, let's get a lien put on this thing, but we have to produce ourselves the documentation, otherwise the bank would simply stop talking to us. In the recent records request that I submitted back to a community member who asked for it, it was mentioned that I contacted Baird Financial to talk about our cash flow. You betcha, I did. It's my job. I called Baird Financial because I'm concerned about our cash flow. And so it should be no surprise that the Baird did a great job trying to help us find solutions, which at the state level, the solution for improper funding is go to referendum. And then when you ask them, hey, if my community doesn't support the referendum for a variety of reasons, what do I do then? And they say, hey, you can go to referendum twice a year. You should go a second time. They also say you can take out a state trust fund loan. So again, the options we've been given are all options that we have executed because there are not other options for our funding. So the bank and Raymond have a very healthy, strong relationship, but they were concerned about their investment long-term in our short-term borrowing. The most recent loan was paid off with the funds acquired from our tax settlement in January, $1.21 million. The plan was to secure a line of credit for $1 million for 6 months until October 2025, per the usual timing of the last line of credit paperwork. So again, we are looking now to secure a line of credit for $1 million to carry us over the summer months. Right now, if you take our amount that's in our account, about $800,000, and you forecast out our payroll, and you forecast out our bills, all paid on time, of course, we don't have enough money to carry us through the summer for payrolls. That's why we short-term borrow, because we do receive another allotment in August, another large allotment, because we're funded at various points throughout the year. I mentioned peaks and valleys. So when we're in a valley, we want to make sure the valley is deep enough that we can weather it and make sure everything clears. And so it's not a great funding model. It does cost us interest. If we had a better fund balance, we wouldn't have to short-term borrow as much. And we would save on interest costs for sure. But we don't. So again, we would then enter into a typical $1.0 million for 12-month time frame that we have in the past. So in other words, the next 6 months, we would need to enter into an agreement between now and October. And then October until the normal calendar year around that, the bank is willing to come to the table and offer us short-term borrowing capabilities. I want to emphasize, short-term borrowing does not fund our school district. Short-term borrowing carries us through the tough times in our cash flow. State tax dollars fund our school district, but those are only paid out in 4 or 5 chunks. There's a small chunk that comes in the middle there. So again, it's hard. I don't want to muddy up the waters for a person who's listening to the live stream right now trying to figure out this beast that is school financing and think that we're taking out loans and we're going to survive on that model. This loan is for our short-term capital so we can pay our bills and have cash flow. So again, that's the purpose of this loan being paid off. And then it is my recommendation tonight that the board would approve the continuation of working with Community State Bank to reestablish a line of credit for the next 6 months at $1 million and an interest rate of 7.5, which is prime rate. That's going to be lower on the agenda. But these are connected pieces. So I wanted to make sure we put a stamp on right now the fact that we paid off the loan. That was our obligation to do so. We paid the loan off a month before it was due, which did save on some interest. We didn't have to pay off the loan a month early, but I felt like it would be prudent as soon as we had the money, we paid it off because it was definitely not a typical pattern that we want to be in with our bank. So they appreciated that, and they're moving forward with us in the future. So that's that particular old business item. that I wanted to make sure we called out. No action needed from the board.
Thank you, Mike. We'll move on to an update from the WASB Delegate Forum from Mike Powers, who was our delegate.
Well, following that fun news, we were sitting at the meeting. You can imagine there's about 400 to 500 people in this meeting. During the meeting, we went through all the resolutions. There was 12 resolutions that we went and put up in front of the delegates that were there that passed or not passed. That's what they do to get legislation moving on how we fund our schools, what kind of programs we want to see in our schools, and different things. We went over them last month, 2 months ago, approved where we stood on everything. The big question was the one on the food funding for school meal. That's where Ed had the question. Wanted to know about this being that way to make them get that free meals for everyone from the schools, blah, blah, blah. I did ask the question, was told that this was not a way to be able to get the school funding. There are free schools for everyone. It was not used and meant to be an avenue for that, and that they have no intention of trying to do that right now as we stand as the WASBA. So, that's being said, everything passed except for Resolution 2504, which was the decoupling public and private school funding. They were worried about private being defunded from us and then going rogue and spending lots of money and just becoming a big thing. So they're trying to work other ways to try to figure out how to decouple them without them just going out, getting a bunch of money, and the schools still being underfunded for the regular schools. And then not having the transparency, because then they wouldn't have to be as transparent with all of everyone like a normal public school entity. The other one was accountability and school board report cards and the standards. That one was the other one that failed. That was 25-08. They were kind of worried about, it was just sounded like basically everyone was tired of switching the standards every couple years. Because I guess it's 1 year it's this thing, then another year it's another thing. They're trying to get some way to like maybe let this one sit down and kind of see how it plays out for a while and get everyone used to it before we throw it away and start all over again with the standardized tests. Other than that, there was really long meeting because they didn't have the electric votes being able to work. So they had to sit there and hand count all the voting, which took forever, as you can imagine, with having that many people. And there was a lot of debates on amendments and stuff, which it's all like changing a word from foreign to world language. You know, it was all technical stuff, a lot of what we deal with in policy. So other than that, it was a good experience. It was kind of cool to see everyone, see how the whole situation works, and seeing the delegates and the board and the headshots and all that of everyone just doing their job and working together and getting everything straightened out. So hopefully we can figure this thing out and start getting schools funded properly.
Yeah, I just read in the legal update yesterday, I think it was, that 8 of the bills are on the floor as we speak at the in the chamber. So the legislative branch is working on them, which is kind of exciting.
Thank you, Mike. I was the delegate the past year, and I like to think of it as how the sausage is made. This is where laws come to be. It starts here
Reminds me of being a
in our
director for
schools.
the counter for AWSC. Go to these
Yep.
meetings and learn how it's all done.
So it's a fascinating process, and it's worth watching it or participating. So next we'll move on to new business. And first up is resolution for short-term loan from February through October 2025 for $1 million from the Community State Bank.
Yes, the one request the Community State Bank had is that they are willing to go into the relationship with us. And every loan ever has contingencies. One of them is that we dial in our cash flow to be as close to precise as we can on cash flow. So the $1 million is really the number we feel that's a fair assessment. And we're going to do some additional cash flow analysis and predictive cash flow analysis so that we can see that we have enough money from this borrow to carry us through those valleys across the summertime. So again, that's really the importance of the short-term borrow. So I'm not going to repeat all the things I already mentioned, but I would be asking the board to approve the motion to allow me to continue to work with Community State Bank for $1 million loan at 7.5% interest.
Do we have a motion?
I will motion to approve the administration to continue to work with Community State Bank to reestablish a line of credit agreement for the next 6 months for $1 million at an interest rate of 7.5 million, or 7.5%, sorry.
That would be a terrible interest rate.
Yeah, seriously. 7.5% prime rate as of today, to be determined by the bank before signing.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve that the administration continue to work with Community State Bank in regards to the line of credit. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we move on to our purchase card change from an Elon credit card to a BMO purchase card. And I believe that Pete gave us a little bit of background on that. So if there's...
Yeah, you've all got your ABS report, which just looks at some of the policy we have in place for credit card usage, as well as, I think Pete outlined it well. We don't currently receive any benefits from the Elon card. Their structures are a little bit more restrictive, so when you have changeover and you're changing over cards and accounts, it's taken a substantially longer amount of time than I think I've ever experienced in getting accounts switched over and moved. So a known entity in BMO that works with a large number of school districts through the P-card program is really, I think, the wise way to move. So looking for the board to read the resolution. It would have to be read as presented. It's something the bank requires. BMO requires.
A motion be it resolved by the board, Raymond School District 14, that the president is authorized to enter into an agreement with the Bank of Montreal to secure procurement cards for each authorized employee of the municipality under such terms and conditions as approved by the board. The board authorizes the business manager or superintendent to execute the P-card program agreement on his behalf. This resolution is approved this 17th day of February 2025.
I second that.
So we have, excuse me, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as stated. Any discussion?
I just want to be clear on one thing. I think with the public, I know Janelle would know a little bit more because she knows more of the policy than I do right now. But we do have policies in place that not just anyone can go and take those monies from them free payments and stuff and just use them for anything. These are used for things for the school that it's a policy. I can't remember which one right now. I know we've gone over it.
6423, it's right here.
Yeah, just so that the public knows that we're not able to just use that to go and pay any willy-nilly thing. There's certain procedures that have to be followed when that's being used and applied.
Thank you, Mike.
Also note that this does not mean we will keep the Elon card open. We would close that card. So the amount that's currently available on Elon is $27,000. The amount that BMO has offered us is $30,000 monthly. So we would be sunsetting the Elon account, closing it, and then the proper steps would be taken for that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion for the resolution is passed. We move on to enrollment update, second Friday count.
Yes, we do membership counts twice a year, and we are excited that we're up a little bit, just a touch, from the September count, which is great. We base our funding largely off of our enrollment, and so there's two sets of numbers for enrollment, resident and non-resident. We're responsible for reporting those numbers separately and combined. We have 310 resident students enrolled at this time and 85 non-resident students attending our school this year. So the total enrollment is 395. We're excited because, obviously we want to see the numbers go up. You want to increase your enrollment, and we've had declining enrollment for a number of years. So we're going to watch the enrollment trends. We do have open enrollment seats that were approved last month at the board level, and so that process is underway right now. And so we currently have 37 applications in, and there are 9 applications out. Some of the applications out are for students that we've never met. Parents don't have to have the kids going here to apply out. They just have to reside in Raymond to apply out. We will be reaching out to all 9 families who are on that list out to see what their rationale or interest in leaving the school district or not having a child attend here, the reasons for that. So we will reach out to those people as much as possible. So just an enrollment update, FYI, that's where we sit with things. And that will be the number that we use as we build our budget forecast forward. We use the enrollment numbers as part of the Baird model for forecasting with our referendum passed or with our referendum failed. Those numbers are the same, 395 for our total enrollment.
Okay, thank you, Mike. We'll move on to committee reports. And first is Facilities Committee. And since Ed is absent, Mike, if you would give us an update on that.
Sure. Wasn't really prepared for that one. I didn't know I wasn't going to be here tonight, so that just kind of got thrown on me. But
you're welcome.
Thanks, Mike. I had our meeting back end of January 31st. We met, we talked, we went over how the bathrooms were looking after that little test that we did on the floors. Everything seems to be going well so far. So we're going to start looking forward and moving forward with other projects, hopefully to be able to do some of the rest of the bathroom floors, get them cleaned up, get some of them dark spots out of them. We had the bomb dropped on us about the stove oven, convection oven going out on us. It's not an absolute necessity. Tahar had told us that they can make it work this year, that they don't need it, but we do eventually need to get a new convection oven because the original one is not able to be repaired. They cost about $20,000, $25,000, somewhere in there, I believe. We're looking at options of possibly getting a used one. The original one is from when the school was built back in the 60s, and there's no way to get parts for it anymore. We're also moving forward and working at ways to get the cooler and freezer fixed with the Fund 50, sorry. With the school, with the consortium, we're trying to get another price and stuff like that on that and seeing where that moves. We're still waiting to hear back on that. And then I had brought back some information from the convention about Energy Star, which is a free program that we could have been in for multiple years and no one had put us in it. And it's a way for us to get funded for putting, like, when we changed from the regular fluorescents over to LEDs or getting rid of the ballasts or any of that kind of stuff, working with anything on our electricity, we can get money back from the state for free that we weren't doing for multiple years. So we got enrolled into that. They also, if we are able to drop, and with us being with Data Wrangler now, if we're able to drop our energy costs down so much, we're going to get a reimbursement at the end of the year as well. So it was just some free money that we had found up there that we're able to apply back and help save and maybe put towards other projects in the school. Other than that, everything, just planning our next meeting.
Okay, that's our only committee report for this month. We'll move on to administrative reports. Thank you, Mike, by the way, for jumping in there. Superintendent's report, Mr. Leach.
Yes, thank you. We've been busy. We are in the longest short month of the year. It certainly feels like it on this cold day. But I was able to meet one-on-one with all staff over the last month, set up meetings, 15, 20 minutes. Some of them lasted much longer than that. But just check-ins with everybody on staff, from our custodial staff all the way through paraprofessionals and teachers. You know, where are you at? How's the year been? What supports do you need? What's working well? Trying to start the conversation with people. It's really important we have those conversations ongoing as the year goes on, and I got a lot of positive feedback. If there are things that were shared that they're concerned about or wondering about, it's an opportunity for me to address those and try to put a plan in place to support. Additionally, we're in the process of goal discussions with all staff and evaluations for all staff. And when I say all staff, all means all, from paraprofessionals to custodial staff. Everyone is getting an evaluation that will be completed. This has not apparently typically happened in the past for everyone every year, but it's really important that we give feedback to people on an annual basis. We have a process that's very simple, with some bullets of strengths, some things to work on, and just getting the conversation started with every employee so that we can maximize everyone's potential and give them the feedback they need. We are preparing communications about the April referendum. The dates about information nights are set. Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m. I'll do my coffees again. There's 3 of those dates in March. And then there are a variety of other dates that are scheduled for referendum meetings. March, the Q&A sessions are 9:30 on the 5th, 12th, and 19th. And then we have additional sessions set up March 6th at 6 p.m., March 12th at 5 p.m., March 20th at 6 p.m. here in this very room. And we'll have lots of good discussions. We have a task force meeting that's coming up in 2 days. It's intentionally scheduled the night of parent-teacher conferences so that we have an audience that if they want to stop by after they talk with their kid's teacher, they can partake in helping us understand how to communicate the most effectively about the referendum. The trick with Raymond is a drive-through community, and that it's a wonderful community, but there's not a place to stop. There's not the common interest coffee shop or library or place for people to gather. So how do we get the message out and information out to the community that's accurate and timely for an April 1st election? That's the biggest task we face right now. So that's what I'm kind of elbows rolled up working on.
Okay, next, thank you, Mike. Next is Mrs. Marty from Teaching and Learning.
Okay, so Mike again took some of what I was going to talk about. Just as far as the evaluation piece, I've been spending a lot of time in classrooms doing formal observations, and it is just so exciting to see what the kids are learning. And I want to say, I've been here about 18 months, and I have never felt like all of this over here is what we are feeling in the school. So what I've noticed is dedicated, hardworking, wonderful teachers, and the same for the kids. And so it's kind of emotional for me because I see the great things. I see what's happening in Callie's class or in Zoe's class or in the musics or any of that stuff. And it's a good place to be. There's something very special about Raymond. So with that, also, we are continuing our professional learning community work. That's where the groups of teachers that teach the same subject get together. This has not been an easy transition for us because some people were already busy. So to ask them to do something else is a hard ask. But I'm hoping, and I think we're seeing that that's starting to pay off. They're able to connect with each other more. They're doing unit plans that are based on the state standards. And then we're taking a look at our assessments and see how they're doing. We're getting ready for the March Forward exam coming up. And we've also, on top of that, got to do the reading screening that's from Act 20 for our K through 3. So March is a huge testing month for us. In addition to that, we are still working on piloting different social studies curriculum, and all of our K3 teachers and the special ed have to be starting training by July on this phonics training, and we've had 4 or 5 of them go through it, but the rest of us are doing it online, and we have a meeting coming up. Mike and I have to go to a special training ourselves, so we're all getting trained up, but that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Marty, I have a question regarding funding for Act 20.
Yeah.
What is that
So it's
estimating
largely,
to be?
yeah, so it's largely unfunded.
But
Yeah.
what is it costing, I guess, is
Well,
a better
I guess
question.
a lot of that, so I would say in the training, we're probably going to be between $10,000 and $12,000. But the time cost, that's hard because what's happening is we're having to shift our priorities. So we're putting all our interventionists, we're putting a lot of my time, the teacher's time, all into reading. And I'm certain that some people in the audience would agree with me saying that that kind of slights our other areas. We can't hire anyone else. We need more people. In fact, we're kind of looking the other way and we're not sure how that's going to end up. So it's really more of an opportunity cost that way. We luckily did not have to buy a new curriculum, and we found, as far as the U-Fly that we're using, that's free from the University of Florida. We just had to buy a couple manuals at $70 a piece. So we've tried to really make the most with what we have while still being compliant.
So my next question is this an ongoing
Yes.
education?
Yes.
Okay. It's not a one-time, one-shot, 1 year?
Oh, education for the teachers? Yes. A one-time thing.
Okay.
But as far as testing the kids and putting everybody below the 25th percentile has to be on a reading plan, and that takes more intervention and more paperwork, and yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I do want to note, we are in support of Act 20. It's a good thing. It's just that right now, the long-term is hard to see because we're in this immediacy of the change. I think anyone would argue that consistent instruction across reading is a good thing, but getting us all there is the painful part, and we're a small district. We're able to rely on people who are just hardworking teachers, and we're a small community. I could only imagine scaling this up in larger communities where you have, large-scale change, maybe a new curriculum in place that has to be adopted on top of this. So we're in a good position because of past practice, but certainly it's going to be a challenge for sure moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Dean of Students report.
All right, so we are kind of in that time of year where we're facing some of those winter blues, and it's cold and it's a lot of indoor recess, so we've been doing our best to keep the kids' minds fresh and ready to learn. So Mrs. Klein planned a kindness week last week, which was new to Raymond School, and that was really fun. She visited each classroom to teach grade level appropriate lessons, all based around kindness, and then we had little dress-up days each week, so that was really fun. We are beginning to talk a little bit about 8th grade graduation planning, so we hosted our first parent meeting today, and a lot of parents have already stepped up to kind of take over that role, so we're working on that. 8th graders also had an opportunity to learn about financial literacy from volunteers at Community State Bank. They came in last week or the week before, and each student selected a career, and then they created a budget based on their chosen annual salary, which was really fun to listen to the kids have all of the things that they think they want to buy, and then the reality of what it's like when you have a job and what your salary actually is and what it looks like. So that was really fun. It kind of helped them, though, kind of grasp that needs versus wants type idea. So that was fun to talk with them about afterwards. I didn't get to go to it, but I spoke with some of the kids after. One of the big projects that I've been working on this year has been therapy dogs, and so we've had therapy dogs coming in every Monday and Wednesday on a regular basis from Dogs at Work, which is a really cool organization. They actually will buy dogs from breeders and then train them to be therapy dogs, and then they will sell those therapy dogs to different organizations. It's generally something that they would charge for to come into a school district on a regular basis twice a week for an hour. Each time is a lot to ask, but they've agreed to volunteer their time for us, which has been awesome. I'm still working with the group on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I know there's some classes that signed up for the Tuesday, Thursday time, and we're close. They have one dog that needs to pass their final certification, but it's been really something to brighten everybody's day with the therapy dog, so that's been really fun. Student Council continues to plan all of their fun all-school events. Most recently, they hosted a Hawaiian lunch. Again, fun for the winter blues, eat on the floor, dress Hawaiian, pretend we don't live in Wisconsin. And then the PTO PAC is bringing back our big spaghetti dinner fundraiser. There were some flyers by the doorway, so if you didn't grab one, please do. We're kind of switching it up and doing Party with the Pack. There's going to be like a barbecue dinner with it instead of a spaghetti dinner this year. And we're going all out with the 50-50 raffle and the live auction. Classrooms are making baskets again. We're bringing those back. and we're doing the pie baskets, or the pie auction, excuse me, and all those fun traditional things. So I'm looking forward to that, as well as hopefully all of you will be there in support of our community. And then last but not least, our next senior breakfast is Wednesday, March 5th at 8:30 in the cafe, and you are all welcome to join us. Thank you.
So I have a question regarding the therapy dogs. What grades are the therapy dogs visiting?
So right now, let me pull up the schedule. Right now, I believe it's kindergarten, 3rd grade. That's who went today, was kindergarten and 3rd, and then I have to look at the schedule. Let me pull it up really quick to see the Wednesday group. And then we've got signups for the other, for Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we haven't gotten there yet. And then 2nd grade and a different 3rd grade group. So right now we have 4 classes, but we're looking at 1st grade, 4th grade, 6th grade, a different 4th grade, and 5th grade coming up on Tuesdays and Thursdays once the 2nd organization gets certified to bring the dogs in.
So the reason why I ask is I have a pouty 7th grader
Who wants to see them?
who can't understand why she can't be part of the therapy dog
They do
sessions.
sometimes go around afterwards, depending on how the dogs are in those first. They spend about 30 minutes in each class, and they end at 2 o'clock right now. So kind of depending on how those dogs are, they might walk around and visit some other rooms.
Okay, good. I'll tell her that she might get
I will
a
tell her
visit.
that too.
Okay, thank you.
I also want to point out that kids see dogs in the building. It doesn't mean bring your dog from home. And I say that because twice now, we've had a couple teachers who said, like, I don't know, the dog just showed up. So kids were telling their parents to bring their dog to school, and the parents were like, okay, I guess I'll do that. So they brought their dogs, and we said, just hold on, you can visit, but just not necessarily like a therapy dog would. So it does not mean the doors are open to all dogs. However, there is a process. If you want to bring an animal to school, talk to your teacher, work it out to the teacher first, and then we'll go from there.
These are certified therapy dogs that come fully insured should anything happen, which is why we specifically go through a company so that we are fully insured and we're good to go. But the dogs they're really sweet. It's been fun.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So we move to board member comments.
I will take on to what Dana was referencing earlier about the strength and the resilience of our staff and how that's reflecting on our students. As I'm out in the community, whether that's shopping or seeing friends around town or just folks that I don't know but know through Raymond School, whether they're parents of resident students or open enrollment students, and even the teachers, it has been so great to have the interactions and hear about that strength, and so grateful, right, with everything that has gone on. I appreciate constructive feedback all day, every day. I think when I joined the board, one of my personal goals was to see more people attend the meetings, and we got there, unfortunately, in a pretty rough way, but we're here, and I think having two-way dialogue is a great thing to do. I hope that I can continue to see it, even as I step off the board, to be more constructive dialogue in the future, because I do think it shines a negative light on our district that has so many amazing things going on. There are people that fight to get their kids here, and I hear that over and over again, and then once they get their kids here, they're on cloud 9 from where they were. It's part of what drew me to this area. The reputation preceded itself, outside of the community, and we have a special thing, and I just hope to get more and more of that recognized, while addressing clear opportunities for improvement that we have, that I think we're certainly open to the feedback on. So thanks. I know a lot of times we sit up here and you all are at the board meetings and we say thank you to you guys and thank you for working together, but I think that also extends to the staff. So please make sure that you're passing that along to the amazing teachers and support staff that we have here as well.
All right, so first off, again, like Janelle just said, you can't thank the staff enough. A lot of people know I walk around the school kind of a lot, being here for meetings or committee meetings or picking up my grandson or whatever else may come up that I'm here for. And just seeing the positivity, seeing the teachers hard at work in meetings when I'm almost going to peek my head and I'm like, nah, I'll just let them do their thing. Stopping in, seeing Mike, even seeing Mike and some of the other staff out there greeting the kids, no matter whether it's 0 degrees outside and snowing or beautiful out. Yeah, it's really good to see the positivity and seeing all the kids coming in, and my grandson is absolutely loving it. And the other thing is, y'all remember, I couldn't remember what I wanted to say at the last meeting. I remembered it. It was thanking the kids for the Christmas card that we had gotten for Christmas, and I can't believe I forgot it last month, but I just wanted to get it out there. I'm a month late, but thank you kids for the Christmas card. It was really cool, and I'm not much of a Christmas person, and it even made me smile, so thank you.
Thank you both. I'd like to make some comments in regard to the referendum that's on the April 1st ballot. My family moved to Raymond from Oak Creek 40 years ago. And as I hear very often from others who make the same move, we like the location. It's close enough to the city, but yet far enough away to be rural. Both of our older children attended K through 8 in Raymond. My granddaughters are now in Raymond, and I'm very proud of that. I like to think of this school as our diamond in the rough. It's certainly not glamorous or a cutting-edge building as many other districts have, but it has a heart that makes this school so special. We have an excellent staff, a staff that cares and are dedicated to our students, learning, excelling, and succeeding. And I witness that each time I visit, and I invite you all to do the same. So I ask this: why wouldn't anyone support this school for these reasons? There is a faction of this community who would like nothing more than to see this school fail. How unhealthy is that? Not only for the district and the community, but more importantly, for yourselves. You may not agree with the board's decision, but that decision removed toxicity from this building. For those of you who like to rely on Google for definitions, look it up. It is truly a shame that you cannot move on. As we have moved on, I believe we are in a much better place because of that decision. After sitting through numerous school finance sessions and wrapping my brain around how schools are financed, and realizing the importance of having a healthy fund balance, it is important that we are successful in this April 1st referendum to build that fund balance to at least 20% over the next 3 years. That healthy fund balance would help us in the ebb and flow of our revenue. It would afford us to be able to rely on our fund balance to support that cash flow of our revenue. It would afford us to be able to rely on our fund balance to, well, I'm sorry, I'm saying that all over again. It would support us, instead of spending thousands of dollars in interest each year that we incur on short-term borrowing, we would save all of that interest. It would also afford us to do repairs and improvements of our existing building. Our faithful staff had a salary freeze this past year. This referendum, if passed, would fund an increase in salaries and benefits for our staff, which is much deserved. It would give the district a comfort level financially that has been lacking for many years, not just the past one, Inflation, which has outpaced our revenues, and a federal government that infused cash temporarily into our schools and lives have contributed to this very situation. We are not alone, as many districts in the state are facing the same dilemma. 2 years ago, I sat through a community education session at a WASB convention. It focused on utilizing our schools in the off hours for community education. We don't turn off the heat or the electricity in the off hours. Why not open it up to the community for perhaps senior gatherings, book club, cooking classes, yoga, maybe even a parents' night out. These are just a few ideas, but there is some funding involved in doing this. Currently, there are 52 districts in our state that have this program. I think this community could flourish if that was made possible. Just imagine the community pride. But again, funding is needed. All of these things are possible if we put aside the dissension and think positive about our diamond in the rough, Raymond Elementary School. I might also add that you bet this is about the kids and this community. It is why we exist. Move on to any announcements or correspondence. Nothing?
No, we're all good.
No? I'll repeat that we have a workshop. Nope. What is it? What are we doing on Wednesday?
The task force is Wednesday.
Task
At 5:30 in this room.
Okay.
And then board workshop.
Okay, then we need to move on to scheduling, or our scheduled future board meetings. We have board workshop Monday, March 3rd at 5:30 p.m. We have school board candidate forum following that on March 3rd at 7 p.m. And we have a regular board meeting Monday, March 17th at 6:30 p.m. With that, it concludes our business for tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
This motion carries. We are adjourned 7:52. Thank you all for coming.
Don't hit him.